Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. This is Commissioner Elena Sanders. I'm going to give you some time and let it inform you that I am in the room here. And I just wanted to discuss some things just to speak on. It's been questions for residents. I recently talked to some residents and I kind of heard it tonight at the candidate forum. So log on in, share with a friend, share with a friend. Give you that opportunity. Let me see. I think I'm live on all of my networks. I know some of you may be up and some of you may be not. This is always a good time to talk because I get a lot of people that are tuned in. So as we discussed, let me converse a little bit. So today, this evening, I attended one of the Newton County candidate forums for those who are going to be on the ballot in November, which would happen to be the sheriff and the board of commissioners, including the coroner position. And so, one of the questions was in regards to Fairview Community Park. Now, everyone knows that Fairview Community Park is located in District 3. We all know that. Let me make sure. I think people can hear me. I think they can. Fairview Community Park is located in District 3. Many people know that, right? Fairview Park is located in District 3. It's inside of Fairview Estates subdivision. And many of you probably don't know about this park. A lot of you didn't even know it existed until I came into office. Myself didn't even know the park was even county owned or even a public park. And when I came in office in 2021, that it was a public park that we were paying for with our taxpayers' dollars, and it was included as one of the parks in Newton County. But let me go back to that. And the reason why I'm speaking on Fairview Community Park tonight is because it was brought up in the candidate forum. I found it very odd with there being multiple parks in Newton County, and parks have had issues, have had some crime, some shootings. Fairview Community Park is the one that's being brought up, has been brought up lately, especially during this election time, and I find it very odd. But let's go back to discuss how Fairview Community Park came to play. And a lot of you in Newton had no idea that this park even existed. So in 2010, well, let's go back to 28. In 2008, we were going through a recession. It was a serious time. Some people lost their houses. People were laid off. It was just not a good time for us in the United States of America, and especially here in Georgia. So during that time, our county got involved where we received a stabilization grant from Department of Community Affairs. Okay. And so with that stabilization grant, along with the county purchased 10 homes inside of Fairview Estates subdivision. They partnered with another nonprofit. I cannot think of it at the moment, but then it eventually went to Habitat for Humanity. So they purchased these homes. And we know in 2008, a lot of homes were, because of recession, were cheap to purchase. So some of the homes I think were purchased for like 15, 20, $30,000. And so the goal was to make sure they sold those homes back to the community for the same price that they bought them for. And there were a lot of people who actually benefited from that. And so the county basically became a mortgage company. I would say the county basically became a mortgage company. We partnered with the Habitat for Humanity to manage the mortgage, manage the loan for those who actually purchased those homes. They were in between $15,000 to $30,000 inside of Fairview Estates subdivision, which is off of Fairview Road. That was purchased with the stabilization grant. Along with that stabilization, that was up the stabilization grant, and we bought the homes. The stabilization grant took care of the park, which was a grant from the Department of Community Affairs with the state. Okay. They gave us funding to build a park inside of this subdivision, which is owned by the county. This park is owned by the county, which is called Fairview Community Park. Now, it's called Fairview Community Park because it's off of Fairview Road, and Fairview Estates is off of Fairview Road, right? So that's kind of like all the parks that are here in Newton County. You have City Pond Road, City Pond Park. So that's just normal when you have parks in a government or in anywhere. They're named after the road or after a person or somebody within that county. And so that's how Fairview Community Park came to play. It had the ribbon cutting. The grand opening was in 2010. During that time, I was not in office. During that time, that was under Commissioner Nancy Schultz at that time, former Commissioner Nancy Schultz, and the board that was put in place. So you have Fairview Community Park was established inside of the subdivision of Fairview Estates. I just want to make sure I broke that down to you. And the reason why I'm coming on today, because it was a question that was on this candidate form. And I find it very odd with all the parks that have had issues within the county that this one particular park in District 3 has been the talk. And nobody has been talking about this park before I even came in office. Stuff has been happening with this park. People were dumping. Let me break something down. When I came in office in 2021, I was getting calls from the HOA president at that time about the dumping, about the overnight parking, and various things. So I assisted with that. That's my job. So they were dumping items such as big as washing machines inside of the park. So that means somebody had to drive up to the woods and drop these huge items in this park, which I found very ironic, which was crazy to me. And so what I did was, once I received these complaints, I reached out to the state parks director, who's over all parks and recreation. And I reached out to him and I invited the park director for Newton County, Mr. Dwayne Mass. So we had a meeting and a walkthrough with constituents who also District 3 residents, taxpayers, and Mr. Card at that time to walk Fairview Estates to find out what we can do to make it different, to find out Fairview Community Park, to find out what we can do to make it different, how we can change it up to make it safe, and what we need to do to make it accessible to all residents. And the reason why I said to all residents is because the taxpayers of Newton County are paying for it. And so we cannot turn anyone away for a park they're paying for. Now, should this park have ever been placed in the subdivision? No, it should have not. It should have never been placed inside of the subdivision, but we're here. That's on the back burner. So Mr. Card, when he came out, the first thing he said to us, and this was a group of residents that were out there with us. It was a group of neighbors, residents of District 3. We walked this park along with the state parks director and the parks and rec director for Newton County. And so the first thing he said to me is, there is no visibility in this park. I would not even bring out my wife and kids to come to this park. You have trees that are overgrown. You have no visibility through the woods. You have too many trees here that needs to be cut down. We need to cut down. I mean, he broke it down in detail for us, okay? And guess what? We made it happen. We cut the trees to make it visible, which stopped the dumping. Nobody's dumping big items no more in that park. We cut the trees down the front to make it more visible. Then the other thing was, the park was just pitch black dark. I can provide you with videos. I'm the receipt girl. So I could provide you with videos and photos of how dark this park was. And the unsafe thing is that they have houses. The back part of their houses are right where the park is. So if somebody comes out of their back door, all they see was pitch black. And so that is a problem for me, and as well as residents that live in that neighborhood, and especially those residents that live by the park, right? And so what we did was we lit up the park. We put lights all around. There's a walking trail there. A lot of people don't know that. We put lights all around the walking trail so that individuals can see, and for safety, and to let people know that there was doing activity in this park, that we're lighting you up. One thing you should know about areas, if you don't keep the area clean, maintenance, or you have lights, it is more prone for crime. When you keep an area dark, you don't take care of it, the grass is overgrown and various things are happening to it, people will come out because they're thinking, oh, nobody's coming out here because they're not maintaining the area, so we can do our crime in this area. So that has been one of my goals, to make sure that we kept the grass cut and we did various things. I also got with Parks and Rec to make sure that it was on a maintenance schedule and it's always cut. And the wonderful Notify Newton app that I inform all of our residents, you all in the area have been using that Notify Newton app to get the grass cut. And so we got the trees cut down, right? We even added some fencing behind those houses so they could make sure they had fencing and be able to have, if something happens in that area. So those houses that are around or in the corridor of that park has fencing so that nobody can go into their backyard. So we did all of that to make sure it happened. Okay. Along with, we noticed that in that park, that the equipment that was there, the other thing that was there for that did not have the safety, was the pavilions had old rusted benches that probably have not been changed since the park was put there in 2010. So I asked for the Parks and Rec director, Parks and Rec, to remove every bench out of that pavilion and replace it. So all the benches were gone until they were replaced, so nobody would hurt themselves because the benches were rusted. If you sat on it or slid across the bench, you probably would cut your leg. So for liability purposes, I asked them to remove all of the benches until they replaced them. And they replaced every last one of the benches in that park. So let's get to the crime portion. This is the thing that's really a bother. This park has been here since 2010. No one, and unless the previous board has not done anything, there has not been a record of situations to where things were needed to be changed. And so when I hear about crime in this one particular park, out of all of the parks that are here in Newton County that has crime reported, I find it a very little bit ironic. Okay, let's go a little bit farther. So because of our concerns with this park, remember I said we had lights placed up all around the parameter of the walking trail. Guess what happened? As soon as we put the lights up in the park, a child that lived in the subdivision went and burst every light, just went around and burst every light in the subdivision. Thank God that the lights are solar and they still work, but the casing on the lights have been broken for probably about 2 years. Broke every light in the subdivision. So we had the sheriff, law enforcement. Now, mind you, we had a report from the Parks and Rec director of the state who said to close the park in, close it in from the subdivision side where the parking lot is located. Make that a basketball court, close it in from the subdivision side, and move the entrance on another side so you can have more parking. Gate in the park, right? That came from the state. Gate in the park to make sure it's safety and is be able to be maintained and manned by the county. Okay. The park is completely open. Completely open. Anybody can go there any time of the day, night, or whatever. It's completely open. And so that has not been done. Then we had our sheriff come before us with a report that happened in 2022. In 2022, the sheriff came before us with a report. The first thing he said, as well as other law enforcement said, the lights around the park are too low. They should be higher, at least 8 to 10 feet high. If the lights were that high, the young man that went around bursting lights would have not been able to do so, and it would have been high up in the air to be able to illuminate the park a whole lot more. We was told that in 2022. We have not done it. Okay. The other issue we were told was to fence in the park for safety so that could be maintained and manned. Other parks in Newton County are fenced in and you can lock the gate and nobody can get in at no time once the gate is locked. That is not with Fairview Community Park. It's completely open. So, and if you're going to talk about safety, let's get through all the parameters. Let's make sure we have all the measures in place. And if those things are not working, then we can say nothing has worked. If we have not moved as a board, and this is not putting down on my colleagues, we just have to put down, we have to work together to make sure we're providing safety for the park. You asked for a report. The sheriff came with the report. We still have not moved. The other issue is one of the things that the other suggestion that was given to us by the sheriff was that if we put cameras in the park, now listen to this, if we put cameras in the park, he would have his team, his crime unit team, manage it, monitor it 24/7. That suggestion was given to us last year. We still have not moved. So we cannot say something is not safe, that someone is not doing something if we haven't moved as well. We're the ones with the money. We're the ones who have to approve it. We're the ones who have to move forward. If suggestions have been given to us, then we have to do our job as well. And this is not taking up for one candidate over the other, because I know people gonna say she just for Sheriff Brown. No, I am saying because the current sheriff that's currently in place gave us suggestions on safety. In order for us to provide the safety that we need, the sheriff cannot move forward until the board moves and provide the funding to get the items that are needed. That's all I'm stating. So those things that were requested of us from the state parks director, from the sheriff, as well as I gave tons of suggestions, have not been done. So we cannot say areas are not safe, or the sheriff department hasn't done this, or these individuals have not done this, if we have not fully done our jobs. And I'm pointing at me because I'm a part of the board of commissioners. I'm pointing at myself because I'm one of the board of commissioners. Until we move and do our jobs, then we cannot say somebody has not done their job when they need for us to move and provide the funding. You see where I'm going? Because the board of commissioners controls the budget. The board of commissioners are the policymakers of the county. The board of commissioners give the directive on to move on various things. Until we collectively move to make sure that's taken care of, then we cannot say somebody did not take care of an issue when it comes to safety. And if we're going to talk about one park, we need to talk about every park in Newton County. let's make sure we say that. Talk about every area of Newton County. And I find this very ironic because it's been a question that's been on the last 2 or 3 forums. And I'm like, why are they embarking on this one particular park that's been here since 2000, was thought about in 08, 09, opened up in 2010. But now it has become a big issue when things have not even been taken in place or corrected before I even came in office in 2021. The issues were there before I came here. So if we didn't move collectively to correct those issues, we cannot say somebody lack thereof who didn't do, because it takes us to correct the problem. And I had to come on and say that because I've been hearing this statement about this park. And I'm like, do you know the backstory? Do you happen to know the backstory of what's going on? And if you know budgeting with the county, you know it takes the board of commissioners to move. It takes us to approve. It takes us to agree collectively to make sure we're taking care of a problem. And if we have not moved collectively, then guess what? One commissioner cannot change it. That's not how our enabling legislation is written. We're not a sole commissioner county. We're not a sole run county. We have 5 commissioners, and at least 3 have to agree for something to move forward. So if that doesn't occur, then guess what? It's not going to happen, people. And I think a lot of don't understand how this works. They may say this one person didn't do it, this commissioner didn't do it, District 1 didn't do this, District 2 didn't do this, District 3 didn't do this. But guess what? You can't move unless all commissioners agree. It takes 3. You have to have a quorum. So if directives have been given to commissioners on safety, on things that need to be done, then it takes us collectively. Now let me go back. I can only put it on my colleagues. I got to go back too. We also have operation. It needs to also be, if we have things that are put before us, we do have a county manager put in place who's over operations of the entire county that serves on behalf of the board of commissioners. Commissioners do not do operations. That's not our job. You guys put us in place for policies and maintaining and managing the property taxes, the budget, to make sure things are done. We have directors. We have a county manager in place that handles the operations of the county. That's how it works. So we give directives to the county manager. The county manager comes to us and say, these things need to happen, because that's the county manager's job, because the county manager knows what's happening within the county. The commissioners do have the right to go to various departments to see if it's working properly. Yes, that is our job. We go check up on the scene to make sure it's working. but we have a person who's put in place for operations. That is their job. That's what they're put in place. Commissioners are not full time. We have full time people put in place to make sure that they're making sure everything within this county is ran smoothly. With everything in this county is ran smoothly. And that's why we are a county management government, got manager government. You might see administrator government, but we are a county manager government where you have your county manager who does operations. Now, in some counties, you have, I believe it's Rockdale. Rockdale, their chair has a little bit more power to where the chair is the operation manager. Unless your enabling legislation is set that way and voted on by the state, our enabling legislation is a bill. It's voted on by the state representatives, the senators in our state. We are subsidiaries of the state. They tell us how we are supposed to operate our county based on this Bible that's for the county called the enabling legislation. You may have heard some people call it the charter. So I think we have to understand how our government is ran, because I'm hearing too much that certain people didn't do certain things, but you have to have a majority vote from the commissioners to move. Directives have been given to us. I wouldn't say directives, let me change that. Suggestions have been given to us. We have to deliver. We have to deliver the directive. Okay? And then the county manager comes to us and say, hey, we need to do this. I'm speaking on Fairview Community Park, so I'm going to use an example. We have to do this at Fairview Community Park. It's going to cost X amount of dollars. We're going to put an RFP out to make sure that it's taken care of. So these companies that are specialized in the area of whatever it may be, put a bid in, then we vote on it. Until that happens, things are going to stay the same. So I think when we're constantly keep talking about various issues, and I'm bringing up Fairview Community Park because that's my district. That's my district. I'm bringing it up because I keep hearing this. And until we put those measures in place that were suggestion, and we get everybody on a collective agreeing that it's not about us, it's about the safety of the people. It's not about the person that you might not care about at the moment. If that person cares about you and making sure the people in your area is safe, then you got to work together. We can't just be thinking about, oh, I don't want to work with this person, so I'm not going to listen to what they have to say, but you're jeopardizing people that are in your community. You got to think about that. You're jeopardizing the people that are in your community. So those who live in Fairview Estate subdivision, there were suggestions brought to your community. I can send you the emails. I can send you every email for the past couple of years. There was suggestion for us to put cameras in the park, and it could be maintained, monitored by the sheriff department 24/7. The cameras have to be put in place and purchased by the Board of Commissioners. There were suggestions to close in the entrance of where your subdivision is located, so that you would not have that activity and traffic, and get rid of the parking lot. That has been an issue, the parking lot that's connected to your subdivision, to get rid of those things. So until that happens, guess what? Nothing's going to change. A name is not going to change it. None of that is going to change it until action is put in place. And that takes the board moving. That takes our county manager bringing it to us. All of us collectively have to do the work. So I just want to make sure, in the next time y'all put this question out about Fairview Community Park or any park, you have to know how your government operates. It does not just fall on the sheriff, because the sheriff cannot put those things in place unless the money is there, unless the commissioners approve. It is a county-owned park, county property. And until that happens, there is no movement. So that's why you see me writing these children books on how your government is operated, how your county is operated. I had to learn as well, everybody. The first thing we want to do is blame certain people, but we don't know how this actually works. You have to know how your government is operated. It doesn't fall under one commissioner. A commissioner can bring suggestions and ideas, what they need for their district, but until that board fully votes on it and agree collectively to have those things change in that commissioner's district, it does not happen. You see me fighting all the time for the park that we're trying to get in. We're moving with that. Thank you so much, my colleagues. I appreciate that. This is not a bashing moment. It's more of a teachable moment to let people understand, because sitting in at that forum today and I was listening, I was like, we don't really know how the government is operated, and that the sheriff budget is through the Board of Commissioners. Yes, the sheriff is a constitutional officer, and he maintains his budget once it is approved by the Board of Commissioners. Then he gets his budget. Now, with a constitutional officer can manage their own budget and actually can pull away from the county. They have that right and authority to do so. But our sheriff has been lenient and generous to make sure it stays up under the county, because he or she, whoever, a constitutional officer has that right, because they are under the state laws, the state constitution. That's what I call constitutional officers. We, as the Board of Commissioners, have no control over any constitutional officer. Your constitutional officers are your tax commissioner, your sheriff, your clerk of court, your clerk of court, not county clerk of court, your probate judge. We have four. Again, that's your sheriff, tax commissioner, your probate judge, and your clerk of court. Those are constitutional officers who are under the state constitution, not the county enabling legislation. The only thing that the Board of Commissioners does is manage their budget. We have no control over their offices. They have full range of what happens in their office. But if something is on a county property, let me explain that to you. If something is on county property, that is your Board of Commissioners. So they cannot change county property without the Board of Commissioners giving in that directive or that vote to agree. That is how that works, and that is how it's operated. I think we need to bring back those courses, and I believe the sheriff office started it back on Government 101. Like I said, I had to learn just like everybody else, but I love education and reading, that I go more in depth to make sure I understand for my clarity. And once I learn something, I don't have a problem sharing it with others, because I'm a teacher. That's what I do. So I share it with all the things that I have learned. So again, my Fairview community, and I've talked to many of you, and a lot of you didn't even know some of these things was going on because it hasn't been shared with you. That's why I love bringing things to community, because you have to be transparent. So my Fairview Estates individuals, my residents, my neighbors, my friends that live also there as well, let me tell you, until the BOC moves, everything stays the same. So we cannot put it on one individual. And also, let me give you some tidbits. Fairview Community Park was not even listed as a park on the county website. So the sheriff office and Parks and Rec was not maintaining it, because the county did not have it listed as an official park with the state. Aha. Until we recognized it. And I was speaking with the former HOA president of Fairview Estates, and she brought that to my attention as well. That's how it got recognized. She brought it to my attention and said it's not even listed on the county website. That's one reason why they're not maintaining it, because she did her research. Shout out to the former HOA president of Fairview Estates. She did her research and knew that it had to be recognized as a park in order for everything to go like it should, like we're maintaining all the other parks. And so when I realized, when she said it was not listed on the county's website and not listed and recognized as a county park, not state park, as a county park, we found out what the problem was, because law enforcement did not recognize it as a county park because it wasn't listed until I came in office in 2021. So we cannot say the lack thereof of monitoring an area when the county didn't recognize it as a county park as well. We cannot say the lack thereof of maintenance when Parks and Rec didn't have it on their maintenance schedule because it wasn't recognized as an active park as well. When all parks that are paid for by taxpayers and taxpayers' dollars should be recognized, and because taxpayers are paying for it. So there's where your issue lies. So I just want to come on for a moment because that has been a huge issue. I see some comments coming. Need county manager on top of the issue like this. Please look at the other counties and how some counties, large and small. Yes. Oh yeah. Hi, I'm reading your comments to make sure that I'm answering your questions. Yes. So just to give you some information on how this works, please understand how your government works before asking these questions. And then certain answers are given when we don't know the backstory. And it's not saying anybody is right or anybody is wrong. You have to know the backstory of how we got here before you can make assumptions of what's not happening or who is not doing something or where it goes. We got to move. We haven't put anything in place that has been suggested to us for that park. Besides the lights, I had the lights done. I had the signage put up. I put in a new playground area, which has not been recognized, like all the other things. A new playground and workout area to where the kids are enjoying it. I was there just a few days ago, and I was excited to see parents coming out with their young kids on the playing on the playground. So if it hasn't been maintained, even the old playground, the I guess you would call it the fake grass or the turf or whatever they had on it, had little sharp objects in it. It hadn't been maintained. So I looked at all of that to make sure that was taken care of. So they replaced all of those various things. It hadn't been changed since it's been in place since 2010. That's over 11 years until I came in office. And so until we do our part, we can't say somebody else didn't do theirs. So we just have to know the backstory. So just want to put that information out there for you. You all have a great and wonderful evening. Good night and be blessed. Talk later.